said that the biomass would be, one of the most attractive renewable sources in Thailand, right? So
Thailand's built for biomass. Thailand has this terrific agricultural base with very, very high yields. But biomass also has some policy issues perhaps associated with it. We've seen a lot of clearing for palm oil, for example, so you get a lot of land clearing. One of the things that I think there's a general acknowledgement of is that the floods last year were caused at least in part by land clearing, because we removed agriculture, which was a natural barrier to water, and the water had a much more significant capacity to flow. The other tension perhaps between biomass is how much land should we use for agriculture and how much land should we use to grow bioenergy crop. And we might see some form of REIT structure coming up in the fairly near future, in my view, for agricultural land as we see that develop. That will drive two things. Obviously, it will drive a yield return because people have to pay rent in order to use that agricultural land.
Right.
And secondly, I think we'll see a significant appreciation in that agricultural land.
Right, exactly.
The other thing about biomass is that Europe, for example, the EU issued a directive in 2009 that by 2020, 20% of total power needed to come from renewable energy sources. That is a huge requirement, requires a huge uptake and increase in the growth of renewable sources. What we're seeing now is a very significant increase in demand for biomass products as the power producers look for consistent streams of biomass products. And we're seeing the farm gate price increase significantly. So what am I talking about? Wood chips, rice husk, coconut husk, and strangely, grass.
Oh, really?
Specific form of grass. Okay. And Thailand agriculture has the capacity to grow that in very large levels.
Wow.
It seems a bit strange when you're thinking about environmental production that grows something in Thailand or a fertile agricultural area and then ship it all the way to Europe.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily somehow seem to me to be environmentally sustainable. But at this point in time, that's what's happening. So Thai producers can produce for local energy demand and also for export.
And what about in terms of the return of the investment? How much do you expect from biomass? How much per year in terms of like percent, or compared to solar farm or wind energy sources?
Solar, I think, as we see technology get more efficient, solar will be the king of renewable energy in due course, but it's not today. For biomass, most projects we're looking at about 18% IRR on a project basis.
18?
18.
Okay.
However, there is a project developer, and that project developer will usually require some type of free carry, which will, as a general rule, dilute the equity returns to, say, around 15% level. But that's still pretty strong. And you've got cash generation usually not far after 12 months from project commencement. So they tend to be fairly cash flow positive. What we see, in Thailand inclusive, over the course of the next few years is we see some of these smaller renewable energy companies listing because they'll have demand for capital.
Right.
They'll have an existing cash flow stream which will be attractive to investors and the capacity to expand those cash flow streams. And they'll pay very, very, very strong yields. From a risk perspective and a risk class, we like that as a potential investment opportunity a lot. You get strong cash flow streams, number one, for a defined period of time, usually 15 to 20 years project life.
Right.
You've got limited risk in the sense that you've got a single purchaser, usually EGAT, very strong counterparty credit risk.
And they purchase all of that, right? All of it.
You depreciate the entire plant cost over the life of the project, so over that 15 to 20 years. So as a potential investment opportunity, I think you're going to see more and more demand for capital, and we'll see people coming to the equity markets to raise that capital.
Right.
And we think that constitutes an excellent investment opportunity, probably starting over the course of the next 12 months, but certainly for 12 months to 5 years out as we see that renewable capacity grow.
If you can choose to invest, in particular listed companies who are, investing in, solar power, in wind energy, or biomass, just pick one. What kind of the company that you would like to invest?
It depends upon your risk appetite. I think for those investors who've got the strongest risk appetite, anyone who's generating solar at the moment and who's got a lot of R&D in terms of improving the efficiency of that solar, that's an attractive investment, but it's a highly risky bet. All you've got to do is look at President Obama's government support for his latest solar company. And I think that blew about $500 million in government grants and government funding. So you have to be a little cautious about where you're picking. In terms of stability, right at this point in time, if we had to pick a company today, and there's no company as yet in Thailand that does this on a broad basis, I'd be looking for a renewable developer in the biomass sector.
Okay.
With a distributed offering. So we'd be looking for someone with, say, something like 6 to 10 plants in Thailand, and possibly some others regionally. There are some frontier market opportunities. Cambodia is screaming for power, and the offtake price is 12 cents a kilowatt hour, which is a very strong offtake price.